Hello, everyone, and thank you for signing in to view the findings of our Elevating to Evolve report, Stories of Wisdom, Excellence, and a Call for Change from Black women nonprofit leaders in Howard County. My name is Tiffany Belding with Ignited Strategies. I am joined by my partner on this research, Rochelle Taylor with RMT Solutions, and we are honored to be able to share the findings of this report that was graciously commissioned by the Horizon Foundation and the Women's Giving Circle of Howard County. This report really was requested and executed in response to a report that we had read about the Washington Area Women's Foundation, where they also looked at the unique experiences that Black women nonprofit leaders were facing in their community. And we were curious about what Black women nonprofit leaders in Howard County would share as their experiences, and also what they would charge the community to improve and to advance and to progress, to be better, to support leaders across the county. And those are the findings that you're going to hear today. We also encourage you to pull up the full report, and we will have a link to that at the end, as we will move quickly through these findings, but we want you to have the full breadth as you read the report. So with that, we are going to get started. We'll talk briefly that the research and the report focused on interviews with 45 women who were gracious enough to tell their stories. And you can see the distribution of who we've spoke with there. But before we jump into the findings and before Rochelle kicks us off with our first section, we wanted to invite Claudia Allen, who is the Director of Advancement for Maryland Humanities, to share as an interviewee her perspective. Claudia?
Thanks so much, Tiffany. It was such a pleasure to participate in this study. And as you've heard, the purpose of this report is to elevate the experiences of Black women serving in leadership positions in nonprofits, particularly nonprofits based in Howard County, but others who serve Howard County. What's important for you all to know is that many Black women leaders are passionate about their work. We care deeply about providing the services, products, opportunities, and resources of our organizations across a variety of sectors to as many people as possible. And while we're passionate about our work and find fulfillment and joy in our organization's missions, oftentimes the environments that we find ourselves working in do not foster our professional development. They do not reinforce our leadership, and oftentimes they cause psychological harm that prevents optimum success for many in their roles. The purpose of this report is to elevate these experiences so that it's to encourage conversations that are committed to reimagining the nonprofit world. What if nonprofit organizations were not just spaces that grew from contributions from Black women, but they were also spaces that were safe and fostered an atmosphere for Black women to thrive? This report is only the beginning of a conversation that we hope to facilitate over the next several months. We believe that together we can redefine and reimagine the nonprofit sector. By elevating the voices of Black women, we create a platform upon which persons of every race, gender, and identity group can thrive and bring their best talents and ideas. We all know that when nonprofit leaders are supported, encouraged, affirmed, and protected, that is when nonprofit organizations are able to produce their best work. So we want all of you to come along with us on a journey towards reimagining nonprofit work. Together, we believe that we can chart a new path forward for the development and retention of all nonprofit leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Yes, thank you so much for that insight, Claudia. And just like Claudia was sharing, there is so much that brings Black women into this space of leadership within the sector. Many found their purpose as an internal drive. They wanted to give back to the community and serve the communities that they were a part of and came from. And with that too, though, they were able to close gaps and raise new ideas, to help address and support the communities even more than where they were at before. And so with that, we saw a lot of Black women creating their own nonprofits and creating their own programs and being innovative with their ideas there. But as you can imagine, with leadership, there is a lot of support that's needed to keep you going and keep you sustained. And so they leaned on a lot of personal and professional supports. But the common thread across both of those supports is the informal nature of those supports, from leaning on family members and friends to also leaning on informal networks and informal mentorship to really provide that safe space, that additional learning, and that ability to access additional resources.
So as Rochelle spoke, we wanted to frame the beginning of the report to acknowledge that Black women are leading in our community. But we asked the question, not just simply leading, but are we thriving? Are we creating an environment here in our community that supports and just galvanizes the leadership and the advancement of our Black women nonprofit leaders here? And we heard from our interviewees, there were several things that are presenting challenges or barriers to kind of leading in this way that would look like thriving. Individual challenges, often feeling that personal call to service, but feeling a tension of living it out in environments that perhaps are not as supportive as they could be. Challenges relationally among other nonprofit leaders, between other Black-led organizations. We heard there's a lot of relational challenges that can be present as barriers. And then organizational challenges, finding that organizations may present a DEI or an anti-racism or an inclusivity framework or strategic priority, but then not provide resources or accountability to support that priority and to hold themselves accountable. Discomfort with change, or discomfort with transition. We heard all of these things as potential organizational challenges to thriving in the way that we would like.
Additional things that get in the way of thriving is this concept of selective trust and this experience of selective trust, where many Black women leaders aren't trusted with the full scope of what leadership can look like. They might be only trusted with parts of it. So many shared how they were responsible for maybe the community outreach or connecting to Black people within the community. But when it came to finances, there was a lot of questioning or over-reporting due, or maybe no trust at all in that task being handed off completely. So selective trust really gets in the way of the leadership and the ability to thrive. And then, like Tiffany mentioned before, Howard County has this unique ecosystem that really elevates those environmental challenges shared before, especially when it comes to the bait and switch. There were a number of women that we interviewed that shared if they had known the realities of working and living within Howard County, they would have made different decisions than coming to work here. And so with that, we would have lost so much great leadership and community impact if they never came here. But it's also a disservice to not be presented the true reality of the community you're working in. So that really elevates this concept and the power within allyship. Many think allyship is behind closed doors in the back after a meeting, being able to really connect and share some resources with someone. But allyship truly in this space has to be out loud, has to be forward, has to put these Black women leaders in different positions to be able to make the impacts that they need to make within their communities and within their roles, and to do so without the additional barriers presented to them. And so with that, there's a vision of hope and a vision of thriving. And this is a direct quote that you can also find within the report from one of our interviewees of what thriving can look like. It would be honestly much more inclusive than what it is now. You would see things getting done in a more courageous fashion. There would be more risk-taking, and there would be more realistic speaking of truth to power.
So what can we do? What is the call to action? What did we hear from interviewees about what the community should charge itself with? For individuals, speaking up, acknowledging when you see someone is not either being respected for their leadership, they're not being supported in their leadership. There was something that we heard that there's no such thing as neutrality. By seeing something and not saying anything is actually presenting a challenge or a barrier in and of itself. As we spoke of with organizations, hold yourselves accountable, provide the resources and the infrastructure to support these strategic priorities that seek inclusivity and equity. Be prepared for change, prepare your boards for change, prepare your staff for change, train boards, onboard leaders in a thoughtful and intentional way. Those are things that we charge organizations to do as well.
And then with funders, it's really putting money behind all of these ideas. It's making sure that the funding is also provided in a way that's sustainable and allows for change to take place. One-time grants are really nice, but something that can be a 3 or 5 year grant is even better because it also allows for the flexibility of the realities of this current climate to be accounted for. And so as organizations are going on this journey, what they need will change over time as well. And being able to have that fluidity with the way that they're doing their work backed up by funds is where the change can take place.
So we say this is a watershed moment. It's a time to change our ecosystem. It's time to change our culture, as we spoke about. There has been a difference between the perceived culture and what has been experienced by our interviewees. And we charge us to change our culture here in our community, to listen up and to also speak out, to stand in allyship, to speak out when you see things that are not supporting Black women leaders, to fund opportunities that uniquely address harm that has been perpetuated, and to do the work ourselves, to do the work yourselves as a community to make these changes. We also want to encourage you to continue to have conversations with one another, with perhaps individuals who might have been interviewed, with your leadership. Let's have conversations so that we can acknowledge this moment and seek to change our ecosystem. And with that, we encourage you to access the report. We encourage you to look both at the Horizon Foundation's website and also the Women's Giving Circle website to access that report, to access toolkits and resources to help you share the report, spread the word, and to begin and continue the conversation about the things that we can and should change in our community. So we thank you for joining us.